Hello and welcome to the Hearken podcast. My name is Caleb Vasquez. For those who don't know, for the new people that don't know me, that is who I am. And for the people that do know me and that are supporting me, you know who you are. And I appreciate you tuning in, and I appreciate everyone that's here right now. God bless you all. And I just really want to open up with what this podcast really is going to be. As you can see, the podcast is called Hearken Podcast, right? And what does the word hearken mean, right? Hearken means to listen. You know, if you look up the definition in terms of a play on words, you know what I'm saying? So, and hearken also sounds like heart. And so with this channel and with this kind of stuff, it's more of just speaking from the heart, you know, being real and trying to give people a perspective on life and, most importantly, above all things, God, you know, and keeping things, you know, the main thing, you know what I mean? Because in this crazy world and the things that we have going on here, people need God, you know what I mean? And whether you're in faith or not, it's just always a good thing to have good, you know, morals, be a good person, you know what I'm saying? Everyone's always striving to do that anyways. Why not have God in that, you know what I mean? Because the Bible states that all good things come from God, you know what I mean? So my main purpose of making this podcast is kind of what I just attested to right now. It's just to really spread the gospel. It's just to really put a raw, authentic light on certain things, because I feel like people who, you know, claim to be Christian or certain things, you know, followers of God, aren't really acting the way that they need to be, nor delivering it the way that it should be. And by no means am I saying am I perfect in any form or shape, but I am saying that the way that I deliver it, I feel, and the way that I you know, explain things about God and explain things about the Bible, I feel like is the way that it needs to be, in terms of just not condemning people and, you know, not judging people, not forcing it, because that's never how it should be. It should be how the Lord would do it, you know what I mean? How the Lord spread the good news, how the Lord, you know, is humble, and you know what I mean, and is not going to force things down your throat. Because if you think about it, us as human beings, we have free will, you know what I mean? And that is a gift from God that he gives us. So another thing about this channel is the logo. So obviously the logo, as you can see it looks like a tree, right? It looks like a tree, and it is a tree. What does that represent, right? It represents kind of multiple meanings. It represents a tree of life. It also represents God, in the sense of being rooted, being, you know, firmly in the ground, or the firm foundation of God. And then, as you can see in the logo, the branch, or like the trunk, kind of has like little twists and turns to it, and then it comes up to the leaves, and then you see the cross on the top, and then you see the leaves on the side. Speaking of the leaves on the side are representing a dumbbell, right? On this channel also, we will also be touching on just not only about God, but just being a positive channel and just motivation in general, and just talking about things that are good for you, like the gym and things like that. Because if you look at the logo, and you can clearly see, or hopefully you can see, that the leaves look like a dumbbell. So it just represents the hard work that you have to do in life, you know what I mean? Or the hard things that you don't want to do, the disciplined things that you want to do that are going to make you stronger, you know what I mean? And if you know anything, or maybe if you don't, but if you do have a faith in Jesus Christ, and you do have a relationship with him, people think it's easy. People think it's very easy, but it's really not. You know what I mean? It's really not. You got to resist this right here. You know what I mean? And what do I mean by that? Flesh. You know what I mean? So every single day is spiritual warfare. Every single day, between spirit and flesh. And, you know, and whether you believe in God or not, if you think about it, it's almost similar to the gym, in a way of just like, you know, you should do it, and you know you should be disciplined in it, and you know it makes you feel good when you do it, but it's like you got to fight yourself in order to get there. You know what I mean? For some people, obviously, some people, you know, they go to the gym, they're getting their stuff done. You know what I mean? Same thing with, if you relate that to, you know, Christians or people that do believe in God, be like, I don't care what happens, I'm going to church. Like, that's that discipline to have into your mind that I'm going to do this. You know what I'm saying? And not many people, even with the gym, have that kind of motivation. And that's where it gets to a level of like, damn, this is kind of hard. You know what I mean? Because it's hard to be consistent, you know, in terms of having consistent discipline. You know what I mean? It's not hard to be consistent as long as you keep showing up, but it's the discipline to remind yourself every single day, like, this is what I need to do. I got to do it. 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 You know what I mean? But coming back to the main thing of, again, the logo, it just represents in terms of where the trunk is twisting and turning and then leading up to the dumbbell of the discipline, like I'm saying. It represents life. You know what I mean? It represents the twists, the turns, the choices, the directions that you can go into. And then if you look towards the top of the logo, there's a cross. And it just represents that anything and everything that we're talking about on this channel, whether it's really actually about God in the moment or not, like let's say we're talking about the gym, for example, something positive, it's not godly related in a sense, but it's just saying if we do talk about other positive things, which we will talk about on this channel, that it all leads back to God. You know, it all leads all right back to God. You know what I mean? So what made me really want to really start this podcast was kind of what I attested to when I first started the video. It's more of just being a voice, you know, and being someone of this age and being someone a part of this generation, you know what I mean, that is very wicked and very, you know, go with the crowd. No one's really their own person, you know what I mean? And for myself, I've always hung my hat on being who I am, you know, and being confident in that. And where I get that from and where I get that confidence from and where I get, you know, being who I am consistently is because of God. You know, I've always had God in my life and I've always had a relationship with him and I believed it. You know what I mean? And when you really grab hold of that relationship and you really grab hold of the power of God, there's no stopping you. Even the Bible attests to that as well. You know what I mean? So I just always have the Lord in my heart and I always have him speaking to me, even when I'm not doing right things, even when I'm not doing good things. And I'm sure you probably haven't done good things either. You know what I mean? But there's that voice in your head. There's that little something that's always calling you. And for me, it's very consistent because I've had such a great relationship with him my whole life that sometimes when I rear off, you know, like we'll get to in upcoming more episodes and stuff like that, I'm not perfect in any means when I say any of this, but I'm just saying in the sense of having God in my heart all the time and thinking about him and wanting to do the things for him and just to help people for the love that I have for them, for the care that I have for them, whether I know them well, whether I don't know them well. You know what I mean? I just have that genuine love of where I want to help them, you know, and I want to give them the good news. And what do I mean by good news? I mean the promise that Jesus has given us and the forgiveness and the mercy that he's given us due to him giving his life on the line for us, for a death that we deserved. He took in our place because of the wickedness that we have in our hearts and the wickedness that we were born into with Adam and Eve and sin entering this world, because me and you were both born into sin. We were born into this world with sin. But the good thing about that is that there is a way out, and I'm here to be that way out, or if I can be a vessel that God can use to help you better understand God and, let's just say, Christianity or things like that. And speaking of that, one of these things on this channel, I'm not preaching religion. I'm not preaching that. And some of you are probably like, what are you talking about? But it's not a religion. God's asking you to have a relationship with him. You know what I'm saying? And having a consistent relationship with Jesus Christ is the best thing that you could ever do. Does that mean we're going to be perfect? Absolutely not. I kind of wish that was the case. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be so tough, but that's the reason why it is what it is. You know what I mean? God really wants to test you. He really wants to see, are you really about it? You know what I mean? Are you really about, you know, all those things that you say that you are and everything like that? Like, it's almost like I said with relationship. If I have a friend, you know what I mean, and I have a relationship with them, am I going to try to do that friend wrong? No. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to try my best to be the best friend that I can be for them. And that's the same thing with God. He's asking for a relationship with you. He's asking you to trust him. He's asking you to have that bond so that way he can deliver you from the wickedness that's in your heart, deliver you from that anxiety, deliver you from that depression. And one of the things that I really want to talk about in general is just the fact of being a positive light, like I said, in this world and in a world that really needs it. And if you do know me, you knew that a couple years ago, or definitely throughout all of high school, I used to post videos on my Snapchat about God, posting questions and answering questions for people that may not understood, because I understood at a young age that what I'm doing for them, or what I was trying to do for them on a social media platform, may have been the only church, or may have been the only truth that they would ever hear. You know what I mean? Because you don't know what they got going on at home. You don't know what they think about God. You don't even know if they even know God. You know what I'm saying? But no one in their worldly mind is gonna talk about God, because it's not popular. It makes people feel uncomfortable, or they don't understand it, or whatever. So for myself, I try to use my compassion and come with love in order to bring the true message of Jesus Christ, and those who may be confused, or those who may not know can know. You know what I mean? And it says it in the Bible. We got Mark 16:17. It says, "Go ye into the world and preach the gospel to the whole creation," to all creation. You know what I mean? And that's what this is all about right here. This is my step to really put that more on a platform, to really do that for people, and to do that for anybody who really wants to listen. And again, like I said, it's not only going to be just about God. That is going to be the main topic, of course, but there's going to just be positive stuff, positive conversations, how to get over anxiety, how to get through depression, how to still have discipline and motivation throughout your life, how to stop the negative voices in your head constantly coming at you day in, day out, how to deal with it, how to combat it. All of those things that we deal with on a daily that we may not share to even our mom and dad, brothers and sisters, our closest friends, we keep that. You know what I'm saying? But you don't have to keep that. That's what this reminder is. You don't have to keep any of that. You can give it all to him. You know what I mean? And he will help you, with that. So this channel is just to really just motivate and spark some movement. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of great podcasters out there. There's a lot of great influencers, Christian influencers, and people that are doing their thing, for Jesus Christ. And I want to make sure I'm doing my part, with that. And like I mentioned earlier, this is nothing new to me. I've kind of done this before. I did it on my Snapchat. It just was in a less professional setting. I didn't actually have a mic. I just set it up in my closet. I was just talking, you know what I mean? And just being real with people, and whoever wanted to slide up, whoever wanted to come to church with me, or whoever wanted to ask me questions, they did. You know what I'm saying? And I really want to do this podcast because I've lived both lives. And what do I mean by that? Like I said before, I'm not perfect. My whole life, I grew up in the church, but it wasn't like it was forced on me. I chose it. You know what I mean? That's what you have to do. You have to choose God. He chooses you, but you have to choose him back. Similar in the way of just relationships. I can like this girl all I want, but if she don't like me back, is that relationship going to work? Nah. You know what I mean? Same thing. God chooses us, but if we don't choose him back, that relationship's not going to work. You know what I mean? Because he's always calling you. And the Bible does say that. Many are called, few are chosen. You know what I mean? And I really want to be able to be a vessel and a voice of God to people that need it, or to anybody, matter of fact. You know what I mean? I just want to bring light to this dark world, as I keep mentioning. And going back to what I was saying, though, living two lives. I went a good majority of my life, and we'll get into the story more later in other episodes, because I'll make a whole separate episode talking about that. But just in a nutshell, I feel like I got good insight to give, because I've lived that holy, quote unquote, I've lived that holy life. I've lived that life really close to God, and I've also lived that life not close to God, unfortunately. You know what I mean? But God willing and God's mercy that I'm still here to this day, for this purpose, because the way that I was going before, I tell you, I wasn't going to make it. I really wasn't. Even though I spent my whole life being in it, but I went away from it in a period of time. And I'm sure you've gone away from it. I'm sure a lot of people have gone away from it for whatever the reason. You didn't like the hypocrites. You didn't like the people judging. You didn't like that. And I'm here to tell you that nothing against those people, but those are not the things you should be doing if you're trying to lead someone to Christ. Because none of us, people say it all the time, none of us are perfect. But here's the thing. None of us have room to talk. None of us. And I like to use that example of, imagine if someone had a monitor hooked up to your brain and they could see everything that you're thinking about. Would you really want someone to really be looking at what you're thinking about? Nah. There's a lot of crazy stuff going up in there. You know what I'm saying? So with that, it just shows that all this judging and all that stuff, that just tells you where their relationship with God is. It's not who God is. It's not anything to do with God. It's everything to do with that person and their personal, ego. You know what I mean? Making themselves feel better. When in reality, like I said, nobody's in room to talk. Nobody. The only person that can judge me and judge you is God. Nobody else. So if anyone has delivered the message in a way like that and that has steered you wrong, I apologize on their behalf. You know what I mean? I apologize because they're not representing my Father, Jesus Christ, in the way that they should be. And I'm sorry that has led you away from God. But I'm here to tell you that there is hope for you and there's new mercies every single day. And you woke up this morning, you're watching this video right now, you're alive. It sounds cliche, but that's the reason why it's cliche, because it's true. You still have a purpose, and God still loves you always, and he wants you to have the opportunity to have a relationship with him. And I'm here to be a vessel, like I said, to mend that for you if you do want it. You know what I mean? Nothing on this channel is going to be forced. Everything that I talk about is going to be very authentic. It's going to be a lot of personal experience. It's going to be a lot of just real. It's just being real. For one thing about myself, is I keep it real. Whether it is about God or whether it's just about anything in life. If you want my advice, you want my help, I'm gonna keep it real with you. You know what I mean? And I'm just gonna try to give you the best advice of what I think and where I think you should go in a godly direction. You know what I'm saying? So that's all it's ever been. I'll always just keep it 100%. I'll never sugarcoat it. And I just want to be here for you. You know what I mean? And this is even for myself too. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just even doing this. You know what I mean? That's just the power of God, and I've always loved, talking to people and always trying to give them advice and try to help them out in life, whether it's with God or not, and just have that heart, to really do that. And, that's why I want to really start this podcast and keep it going. This is the first episode. This isn't going to be, everything. I'm going to get better equipment, better stuff. But for the right now, all that matters is my voice. And that is the power that I have. Forget about all the equipment. Forget about all the lights and the bells and whistles that I could be really doing. But all I really need is a microphone and my voice and the Holy Spirit to minister through me, to minister to you. You know what I'm saying? And I love each and every one of y'all. Like I said, whether I know you or not, I love you. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if some of you have heard that before. Maybe some of you don't feel loved. Some of you don't feel like you deserve love. But you do deserve love. You know why? Because God is love and he loves you. You know what I mean? And even with all that wickedness and all that dirtiness that we all have, and all as many times we turn our back on God, he still loves us. He's still there. So that's pretty much it for the first episode. I know it's a little bit lengthy. I know it's a little bit long, but I just really wanted to get this intro out of the way. Most videos in the future will probably be up to a max of maybe like 12 minutes, maybe like 10 minutes, just depending on what the message is. But I really wanted to get this video out of the way and to really just give a little introduction of who I am and who I stand with, you know what I mean? And try to make a difference in this world and try to deliver the gospel the way that I can, and just do it in a non-condemning, judging way, and do it in the way that Jesus Christ would, and has done, you know what I mean? And in a loving way, in a way that's not to make people feel uncomfortable, not to force it down their throat. It's to offer peace. It's to offer mercy. It's to offer new life, you know what I mean? And it's to offer love. And that's what Jesus is all about. That's what Jesus represents. And we'll get more into that as the more episodes come. Again, I'll explain a lot more stories about myself. It's going to be personal experiences. It's going to be topics, like I said, getting over depression, getting over anxiety, how to build a relationship with God, in my personal opinion. Again, all this stuff too is going to be from personal experience, like I said, and personal just opinions of how I interpret the Bible, and keeping it to its true form, and not, making up stuff, of course, but just delivering it in the best way that I know how, in order for you to understand it in a simpler term, and just to actually, let you know that there is that hope. You know what I mean? This isn't all what life is. You know what I'm saying? As great as some things are in this life, it's cool and all that stuff, and there's some level of importance to it, but it's not everything. All of this stuff is going to pass away. All of it. I'm going to pass away. This chain is going to turn rusty. This chain is going to be broken. This chain's going to be done. Money's going to be gone. These posters, this computer, this phone, all of that is so temporary. But God is eternal. So that's why it's so important, because all of this is going to pass away. But once we pass away, we're going to keep living. And we'll get into that in coming up episodes, okay? So I appreciate y'all tuning in. I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate all the support. I'm going to be coming out with a lot more content. Going to be having some guest people probably on here too. Other people, other brothers and sisters of Christ, and just even other people in general that want to be on here. No one's excluded from this. Even the people watching this, even if you're not of faith, it's whatever, you are welcome. You are welcome here. You are welcome anytime. You know what I mean? And I'm just here to do my best and try to deliver the gospel and deliver the good news of Jesus Christ in the best way that I can, like I said. So stay tuned. I love y'all, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.